I would like to thank you for having made it through the Bangalore traffic. I myself was struggling to reach here by 9:30. I reached at 9:25 exactly, and I said, I need to take a breather. So the 15 minutes delay is partly due to me. So quickly, I think we'll talk about the new version of MySQL that's called MySQL 8. I know we have been talking about MySQL for the last 1.5 years, that it's coming, it has come. Now it's nearly 2 years that we are into MySQL 8. And the story has been amazing. A few questions that some people came on the booth and asked, they said, we've seen this presentation multiple times. Is it the same thing? So the answer is absolutely no. I'm going to tell you exactly what we have been doing in the last 1 year. I will do a quick introduction of the last, the things that are most important for MySQL 8. So without any ado, let's just get started. So this is safe harbor. So safe harbor. That means please don't make any decisions based on this and don't sue us if you do, right? That's the whole point of this safe harbor. Just an introduction. I know a lot of people know about MySQL, but we are among the top databases that are around there. And this is not something that we are saying. This is something that DB Engines is saying. And they take out a ranking every month. So this is from, I think August 2019. And you can see we are the only 2 top databases that are there are from Oracle. And the only one open source database that is there is ours. And they look at multiple things. They look at how many articles are there on the web, how many openings for jobs are there, and how many people are talking about it. So that's where we are. We are really, really popular. And our popularity is not going down, and it's going up extremely fast. In fact, I think for the last 1 month or so, we are the fastest risers because people realize that anything that they need is available. So not only are we talked about and used, when developers are surveyed and asked, what is the database that you want to use? The Stack Overflow developer survey says, we love MySQL. And then in that developer survey, we are at the top. So developers really like us, and we thank all the developers for that. What is 8 all about? Okay, so 8 is all about, making sure that we are a complete database. Whether it is just from the SQL point of view, because there were, the people who were pointing out, saying MySQL is just a toy database. It's not really complete. It doesn't have this feature or it doesn't have that feature. It started with the GIS is not complete. Now nobody talks about GIS because we are complete. Then there are certain SQL 92 or other SQL statements that they wanted us to have. They are all there. Then if we talk about, how good NoSQL database we are, so that means how well, JSON formats are supported, we are out there. And if you see the clicks today, right, whether you look at, and we are even comparing with the MySQL database, right? So we have windowing functions, we have recursive functions, we have JSON tables fully supported, we have grouping, same columns from clause. Whether you are a arcane core, SQL user or you are a NoSQL user with JSON, we tick just all the boxes. That's the point that I'm coming to. And I don't think any other database today can talk about the kind of, features that we have. Right? So we are quite complete in that. And, these are, things that people are talking about, that this really is a landmark release, right? And there are these things that people have been asking us, like windowing functions, CTEs, and that is something that we've given you in 8.0. This is not what we are saying, this is what community is saying. Vlad is one of the foremost database researchers, and you can read about his blogs and you can know about him. And he says MySQL 8 is light years away from 5.0. So if you are having any 5 version, whether it is 5.7, 5.6, 5.5, you really need to upgrade to 8.0, because the kind of features that you're getting with 8.0, the kind of speed that you're getting, the kind of security that you're getting with 8.0, you're not getting with any other version also. And database growth is in leaps and bounds anyways. And the requirements from a database are also increasing leaps and bounds. And we pride ourselves that even in the large MySQL, and MySQL is a huge company, we work as a small startup there. we get worried and scared about everything that is happening. If there is a competition that is coming from a NoSQL database, we worry about it. If there is a large open source database out there that's competing with us, we worry about that. We make sure that we are the best out there. And it's not only we are looking at the past, and we have beaten everybody, with the feature wise, with everything wise, and that's what results in our popularity. We have seen the market, we have addressed the market, we have looked at all kinds of challenges, and I think we have overcome. I think the next challenge that we are looking at is pure cloud databases. And I can promise you that maybe today we don't have a solution there, but it's coming very soon, and I'm going to talk about that. And I think one of the things that we are extremely happy about is that people are having a lot of confidence in MySQL. Because I remember we had some versions, I think 4.0 or 5.0, where immediately after the release we had to come out with a new release because the quality was not good enough. People were complaining a lot. But since 5.5, since the new management, and I think to a lot of extent where after Oracle has taken over, the focus on both quality as well as security has been something that is so tight that all our versions, people adopt it, they don't even wait for it. And that is what we see in 8.0. 8.0 adoption, like, look at 2018, right? That's when, nearly we had, just about released it. It was absolutely new. And look at August 2019. 26% of the queries that are coming to us, right? They're coming from 8.0. So that means 26% of the people have already are into 8.0. 5.6 is now only 24%, right? And obviously 5.7 was our large release last, but the adoption is there. And what we see is that, yes, there are minor corner cases which people complain about, but in general, it's a very, very stable release. So one of the key things that we are pushing this year for 2018 is we are saying, please adopt it. Because if you have not, and if you're waiting for it to stabilize, it is 2 years, it's good to go, right? For any requirement, it is good to go, implement it, use it. It's also important that you take up 8.0, because when our cloud service comes out, it's going to be based on 8.0. So you better be familiar with it, right? There are some changes into it. There are some extensions into it. One of the large things that with 8.0 that we did was we have basically taken out the data dictionary. The data dictionary used to be based on files. Now that whole data dictionary, the data dictionary is information about your tables. So you have a table, it says, okay, how large this table is, where is it situated, how many columns does it have, all that information used to be in some kind of files. And in order to search those files, we had to, so if somebody wanted to say, okay, how many total columns do I have in all over my tables? So you had to go to those files, open that file, check out the number of columns, add them all together and do it. Imagine if you had 50,000 tables, you have to open 50,000 files and shut them down. Now, the schema itself, right, this information of data dictionary, now it's an InnoDB file. So it is fully transactional, it is ACID, you change columns, you add columns, it takes care of them immediately. If you have any information, in fact, I remember information schema for some of the queries used to take 3 hours. Now it takes less than 3 seconds because the whole thing has gone. So the heart of the metadata information about the database has now been taken out and a new heart has been replaced. It's like, that Iron Man thing, right, where he replaces his heart and then a new heart, and that makes him fly. The heart is making us fly with 8.0. 8.0 is flying. Catch on with it and please adopt it. Wow, this went fast. So as I said, I'll not talk about the old things, I'll talk about 2019. What is it that we have done since the last 1 year? These are all the new things that we have done, right? There are lateral derived tables. There is parallel read of indexes, so indexes become extremely fast instead of sequential. There are consistency levels that we have. I will talk a little bit about it, how do you manage consistency level? And this is the group replication part. Then there is a very important thing that people said, okay, how do you check constraints? When I insert something, I want a constraint and I want it checked right the moment I do an insert or if I do a modify. I need to check the constraint. So the moment I create a table, I want to make sure that there's never a mistake that somebody makes, or even if there is a related index or something that needs to be managed the moment something is inserted, something is changed. Check constraint is there. There is something called auto upgrade. I remember one of our managers who implemented this auto upgrade, and they went, into a conference, and they had to talk about this automatic upgrade. And he came back saying, this was the only presentation in which I was telling people that you don't have to do really anything because it automatically happens, right? So if you have a version, 8.17 and you put in 8.18, earlier you had to run and upgrade yourself, and then it'll do checking. And if there are some data structures that have been modified, all that data is going to get modified. In this case, now you don't have to do anything like that. The moment you install a new one, it's going to say, okay, you have come to the next one. I'm going to make sure everything gets upgraded. And I'm going to make sure, so he said, I went there to talk about nothing, because really nothing that you have to do. So that's what is auto upgrade. Then July, we have come up with a clone. This is basically, something which if you want to, if you want to have a cluster, you want to make sure that there's a main server and then there's a node that you have added and it is starting from scratch. So you need to copy all the information that is there in the master and it goes into the second node also. This needs to happen seamlessly without you knowing it, and it has to happen extremely fast. So we do have a backup, we do have a dump, but all those things were found to be extremely slow. And as far as the backup is concerned, it's an enterprise feature. So there were a lot of people who said, okay, why should we adopt an enterprise feature for us to be able to create a copy of this thing. So this is a very limited thing where we have basically, we make a quick copy of your server, and this is integrated right inside your InnoDB engine. It's done by InnoDB engine folks. So it happens extremely quickly, fast, and it's always consistent. So that, and it's obviously it's an open source feature, so it just works. So you can create your your clusters of 3 or 4 or 5 for InnoDB cluster very, very quickly. We have array indexes. People said your JSON story is not complete if you can't make an index. So your JSON can have arrays, right? So you have only 3 rows, but in that 3 row, first row has an array of 100. The second one has array of 1,000, and the third one has an array of 50,000. I don't know, something like that. You have a JSON structure which has those arrays, and now you want to index those arrays. How do you do that? Right? So we can actually create an index. It's going to flatten those. It's going to create that 1,300 line thing, hash into the 3 rows that is there, and then you can just search very, very quickly. So JSON story is getting completer and completer. Right? Then this is something that came new to me. I'm an old guy, right? So I remember XML and XML schemas. What I came to realize is that JSON also has schemas. And if you want to make sure that your JSON documents are compliant with the schema, you can do that, right? So that is something that has been implemented now. Latest 2 features, hash, join, explain, analyze. I will talk about them. These are again also features that other large databases have been pushing us, saying you're not a complete database till you don't do that. I will talk about that as we go on. One of the things that, the last thing that I talked about last year, or in the last years, this is what we talk about, and I still want to talk about that. This is something that a lot of DBAs worry about. So I have one version, I take another version. Before I upgrade, I want to know if everything is fine. If I have a particular data structure, or I have defined something as uint 35, and that uint 35 data type has been dropped in a particular version, and when I do upgrade, I don't want to run into something at that time. I want to make sure before I upgrade what all is going to go wrong. And maybe I make the modifications in my current database itself. Right? So that's something that you want to do. So you run this upgrade checker, and it tells you, look, these are the things that have changed. And these are the things you have to worry about. But then the moment you install now the next version, it's going to automatically upgrade, and nothing is going to fail. So this is just your fail-safe mechanism. You make sure that things are not going to go wrong. I think currently it only works for 5.7 to 8.0, but we are working on making sure that it works on 5.6 and earlier versions. Also, our auto upgrade is something that we want to make sure that it works from 5.6 and even 5.5. Still working on it. We're not sure yet it's going to work or not, so you have to do it step by step. But maybe soon, in a few more versions, we will have our upgrade story. Now let me just talk about some basics. There are some people who might not have known about what 8.0 is all about. So 8.0 is the challenge that we faced from doc stores, where they said this whole new SQL coming in. We don't want to think in terms of columns and rows. We want to think in terms of documents. And when we looked at this implementation, We said, what is the big deal here, right? You just want to have a document. I can have a simple table. In that, I'm going to have a key, and I'm going to have, another column, and that column is going to be a document. It's as simple as that. Obviously, the story was not as simple as that, because then you have to make sure that the indexing is there. You have to make sure even in replication. So for example, if I have a large document and I change a very small row in that, and I have it replicated, and now if I replicate the full 1 MB document across, or if there are 50 documents in that, and I change just one small dot in the pages, in the documents, it should not happen that in my replicated all slaves, they have to carry the 50 MB across the channels, and then everything has to be updated. So I have to make sure that I can only make changes and know what changes have been done in a JSON document, transfer those. Then I have to make sure that my indexing is not only inside the one big large document, but each element inside can be indexed. So if there's an address there and I want to have, look at all the people who stay in Delhi, I should be able to take it out. All the people staying in Bangalore, I should be able to create indexes on those documents like that, right? And search them, modify them in every way. So this is the document store story that we created. We said, fine, don't even think about it. And then the whole terminology needed to change, right? Instead of select and update, we had to talk CRUD, right? And we had to create a new protocol. And that new protocol had to talk to people who are, writing their JavaScripts, and they don't want to think, SQL. So stop thinking MySQL. If you don't want to think SQL, you just want to think CRUD, you want to do your JavaScript, we are extremely compliant. You want to have everything running in Node.js, and you want to have it compliant, everything the connectors work, right? So whether it is Java, it's C++, PHP, Python, this whole setup that we have created works in those. So you want to have schema, fine. You want to have schema-less. You want to have schema-less with JSON schema, yes, we can do that. You want to have, again, CRUD APIs, as I said. And the other beautiful thing that we have is shell. It's kind of your single point to catch everything. Whether you want to write a script, whether you want to add users, whether you want to add columns, you have a big thing where you want to add a node, you want to delete a node, you want to stop a node, everything can be done from a single place. The other beautiful thing about it is it talks in the language that you want to talk about. Okay? In the same screen, you say, I want to talk JavaScript, you say /JS, he's going to talk to you in JavaScript. You can start writing your shell commands, everything in JavaScript. You say /Python, he's going to talk Python. You say /SQL, it's going to talk SQL. For it can just cater for everything, right? And it does way more than just earlier if you had an SQL script, you could do just SQL. You could not configure, you could not add users and things like that. With this, you can do everything, right? You can set up your HA. You have any kind of crazy DevOps that you want to do. It has full SQL XDev API support, and JavaScript and Python is native to it, right? So we got beaten a lot by some large databases about CTEs, right? And window functions. Now, what window functions are, it has nothing to do with Microsoft Windows. It is about saying that I have a particular data, and I want to know something which is a little above that and a little below that. So that is the window that I have for the data. So between X and Y of the data that you search, 10 more and 10 less, I want to have some information, I want to extract that. These kind of queries are used a lot of times in analytics operations. We did not have that. And there was crazy convoluted ways of writing SQL to be able to get this kind of information, but now it's kind of by default. It works directly. CTEs, a lot of people said, can you write recursive functions inside? If you want to write a function, SQL function, can it be recursive? So all that recursion is allowed. Functions are extremely good. Our temp tables are completely modified. We can do huge amount of things with our functions now. So right, recursive, non-recursive, hierarchical traversal, anything that you want to do, you can actually do. So it's one of the SQL 92 features that people used to beat us with. That okay, you don't have it, now we have it with 8.0. This is the new thing, 8.0.18. 8.0.18, I think, finally has gotten released 2 days ago. So you have now an explain analyze. You have a query and you want to know exactly how this query is going to run. It's going to tell you, yes, this is how this query is going to run. There is going to be, it doesn't work. So we have like, you ask and explain, he says, this is how it's going to run. Inner hash join is going to do this. These many rows are going to get retrieved. These many number of loops are going to happen. Then it's going to do something else. Then it's going to retrieve 25. Then the joins is going to happen. This is exactly how it's going to run. So even before running the query, you can come to know exactly based on what my current data inside my database is. This is not a generic thing. This is talking about your data. Currently, if you have 500 rows, he's going to tell you, I have to traverse 500 rows because you haven't got an index on it. Or if there is an index, he'll say, yes, there is an index. Based on the query that I have, this is the index I'm going to use, and this is how it's going to traverse. And there are only 3 elements here, so I'm going to retrieve 3 elements first, and those I'm going to join with something else. So those kind of things, now you can run and explain, analyze. This thing was static, available earlier for, explain was there, but now for running queries, we have that, this thing. And this is absolutely new in 8.0.18. Again, this was another thing that we used to get beaten with. Now it's all there, right? So you get estimated cost, actual execution statistics, right? Time to return first row, return all rows, number of loops it's going to run, right? And you have a beautiful tree output. We have a JSON trees that we output. So it's very, very visual. They are nice, these nice boxes. If people have looked at JSON trees, then you've seen those, right? So those are all available. This is the hash join that we talked about. So typically joins take a lot of time, right? And if you have multi-joins, right, you have a join 1 with 2 tables and then you join a third one, there are a lot of loops that it goes into. There are subtables that are created. There are intermediate data formats that are created. And now there is actually a way faster thing based on hashing. And if you have hashes, then you can create these things faster. The internal data structures are not that complicated, right? So that happens quickly. So they're faster, in memory if possible. They will spill to disk if required, used for inner equijoins. Your typical BNL is something that worked earlier for earlier ones. You don't have to do that. And especially our nested joins used to be slow. No longer. This thing has been released. We are way faster. So with each thing that is being pointed to us, saying, this database does this better or that database does that better, we are able to go faster. InnoDB cluster, the cluster is there. You create a cluster, one thing goes down, automatically the cluster is going to reformat itself and work, right? So it's based on group replication. The data gets replicated immediately, right? It grows, so the moment you put it in, it is broadcast. There is a queue, the sequencing is done automatically. One thing dies, the next one come up. It is, router does automatic load balancing. He knows that there are 3 nodes in the thing or there are 5 nodes. This is the primary node. This is the write node. These are the read nodes. Even the queries that are coming, how do I balance them? Which is, if it's a write thing, I need to send it to this one. If it's a read thing, I need to send it to that one. Automatically done. Load balancing is automatically done. And there is this one, as I said, the beautiful shell that we have, you can just create and do everything with that. One of the things that we were always keeping our cluster completely synchronous. There was no this, eventual consistency with us. And we thought that was a big thing. But then certain customers came to us. They said, okay, I've got 2 nodes here in one part of India. The other node I have in Singapore, right? And you want to have, consistency immediately. That means, everything is going to wait till that data goes on to Singapore. It gets, synced there, and only I don't want to wait for that. I'm cool. There are 2 nodes in India. They are synced. Singapore will take its own time. As far as I'm concerned, my query has come in. The moment it goes to 2 nodes, it has to commit. I don't really care. We said, fine, we'll do it for you. We do an execute prepare there, and the commit comes later. Obviously, there is the risk that if the connection breaks or something goes down, your Singapore will take little more time. But this is what the customers ask for. You will get what you ask for. And we understand that there are certain risks that you're willing to take and you're okay to take. So those things you can have. Now there is also this, as I said, the clone is there, right? So automatic provisioning is there. You add a new node, the data is going to be picked up, it's going to be dumped onto the new one, and it's really fast. The speed of this is compared to our enterprise backup, right? So I remember a terabyte database takes about 30 minutes for us. With this thing, it'll probably take around the same time. So 1 terabyte of data can be dumped in about 30 minutes. So that's the speed that we're talking about in order to provision something, a cluster. Okay. And if you want to look at the complete list of features, there's a beautiful blog. Geir Herdalsvik is the senior director who takes care of the server. Just go down there, have a look. He'll talk about all the features. I will not repeat anything. I'll make sure that I'll put this slide up on SlideShare, and I'll tweet it right after this. So you'll get it. Okay. MySQL as a service, it's not yet out there. We are working extremely hard on it. My engineers are telling me that I'm flogging them like horses, but it's coming. It's coming very, very soon. What it's going to have is, you focus on your business. We have our own cloud. We're going to take care of everything. You need to take care of your schema and modeling. You need to take care of design and optimization. You need to look at access, who can get what access. We will take care of backup. We'll take care of high availability, automatic failover, vertical and horizontal scaling, database and OS patching, monitoring, log handling, security. Everything is our problem. And when we are talking security, we are talking enterprise features. We are not talking any other cloud that you go to cannot give you the security that comes from enterprise, because they are running some donkey old version 5, 7, 10 or some stupid thing like that on their thing. And whether it is, should I take names or not? I always worry, should I take names? But any cloud that you go to, go and ask them which version of security are you running, right? There's an OpenSSL, ask them which version of MySQL do you have, which version of this thing you have. And there are certain databases that masquerade as new databases, cloud databases. They're all based on MySQL code, and they have some old version, right? I don't want to take names here. Come to my booth, I will tell you what databases I'm talking about. They're extremely popular, and people are crazy about them. And 5, 7, 10 is the last that I came to know. It's based on 5, 7, 10. And 8.0, I'm telling you, is 2 years old. So imagine what 5, 7, 10 is. I think 5, 7 is currently on 27 or 28 or something like that. As I said, again, fully elastic, fully upgradable. And it comes with Oracle Cloud. Oracle Cloud is the most high-tech cloud available today, extremely secure, because Oracle takes security very, very seriously. It's we call generation 2. So first is, we learned from what all is there around in the clouds, what mistakes they have made. So we created our generation 1 cloud, and then we realized there are some mistakes we have also made. So then we dumped our own cloud, and then we created a generation 2. And it's really fast. It's all the experts of MySQL are going to take care of it. And there is premier support. We will take care of everything for you. It is the cloud and MySQL which is implemented by the MySQL experts on the Oracle Cloud. It is latest. It is enterprise security. It is Oracle Cloud. It's going to be like mind-blowing. I think we've just launched our cloud center in Mumbai with just the Oracle Cloud. There are already 100 customers on it, and people are finding it the crazy numbers. Okay, OCA native. Just to talk about Oracle Cloud a bit, web console monitoring notification. These are you just create databases, and our MySQL database is completely integrated. So you have all the services. You'll get MySQL. You just put in MySQL, and you'll get the service. It has Chef, Puppet, Kubernetes, Cloud Native. It's all event driven. Whatever is the latest feature you talk about, that all is there in Oracle Cloud. And one of the promises that Larry Ellison has given in Oracle Open World is, if you have any cloud infrastructure and you move that workload onto Oracle Cloud, he promises you a 50% discount. It's going to be at least 50% cheaper. The other thing coming soon is the analytics service. One of the complaints that people have had for a long, long time against Oracle is that, what if I want to run analytics? What about my analytics load? So we have a beautiful new analytics engine that we have come up with. This is a collaboration with Oracle Labs. They have been working on this technology for 15 years. They are benchmarking it against all the current technologies that are out there, and we are extremely fast. There was a customer called Mercator. They have done some implementation, test implementation, because they're our partners, and they're working with us to launch this. It's called Rapid, and this thing works 40,000 times faster than BigQuery for their particular application. 40,000 times. So what was taking them 4.5 to 5 hours is taking them 3 seconds. That's the kind of numbers that we're talking about. And these are huge queries. If you run it in typical MySQL, it takes 4 days to run those kind of queries. Or 5 days, or some of them just don't come out. So this is an in-memory database, completely integrated. There is no lift and shift that you have to do, that I've got my, data rows, 50 million rows here. Then I take them all out, I put them into a new infrastructure, and in that new infrastructure, then I run my, load, and then I, create my cube and all that. No business there. The only thing that you do is you designate certain tables as engine is equal to rapid. That's all you need to do. Automatically those rows are, and this is upgraded the moment you insert the data. The moment you insert the data goes into rapid, and you can run an analytics query on it, and it's going to give you a result in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. I think there are some 40 queries that they're benchmarking. We are at 27. We are going to be able to finish 40 by the time we launch it. And it's really coming really soon. My last slide. So generically, there was an Oracle Open World that happened recently. These are the big announcements that we're talking about there. Oracle database is now autonomous. It is going to reconfigure itself. If you change things, if you add things, if your data gets added, because of that, there are certain parameters that need to change, they will change automatically. It's based on machine learning. Similarly, what Oracle has also realized, and that it's not just about your database that has to be autonomous, even the OS on which it is running has to be autonomous. So you need to, let us suppose, add some buffers, some memory things have to change, some swap values have to change in the OS, some timings have to change on the OS. The OS also has to be autonomous. It has to change automatically underlying. And that's the good thing with Oracle. We own our own OS, right? We have Oracle Linux out there, which is based on Red Hat. So we have that. We can make every change in that on our cloud infrastructure. Runs like crazy. I think some people came scared that what about, our DBA is not going to be required. Let me assure you, it takes care of certain things, but the brains still, how you create the first implementation is something you need to do. And there are going to be certain pre-architectures that obviously you'll have to do. Some basic things, obviously, they'll take care of. And then there's a always free tier. So if you want to try out, you can go down, you can use it. And that, if you want to create an infrastructure where you want to always test Oracle Cloud for the coming future, just take that tier, keep on testing on it. We guarantee we are not going to be shutting it down anytime soon. And the other big announcement is India local. We have this data localization requirement in India. As I said, we've launched our cloud center. It is in Mumbai right now. There are 100 customers already on it. And they are running that autonomous database. And they're extremely, extremely happy with it. The Hyderabad center is going to launch soon. So if you have disaster recovery scenarios that you want to have, they'll work automatically on that, and that's coming soon. And hopefully by the time these come up, we will also come up with our MySQL as a service feature, and with our free tier, you can try it for free, right? So that's what you can have.
MySQL 8.0, will it have any data logs as such? Which will decrease the performance-related issues.
So there was
DBA as such.
I know there's this whole thing that people talked about, performance schema, right? They used to have all this. So in a running database, we make sure that everything that is happening in the data, the number of semaphores, the wait times, everything is captured. I think now the time that it takes has gone down to, I think, 2% or some really small amount. And you want to have those logs running, because at any time, if you have a problem in your database, you want to be able to analyze which query was running, where exactly was it, which stage was it at the stage where the optimizer was just tokenizing it, how many threads were running on it, was it stuck on some semaphore or a mutex, which mutex was it stuck on, how long was it stuck, was there any parallel query running on it? So those kind of statistics, there are a lot of new databases out there, right? They write this database and they say, my queries are faster than yours. But as a DBA, when you get stuck, you need to know exactly what is happening. Because there are, with more and more analytics, we don't even know what kind of queries are going to get fired, right? So there are some not very educated DBAs who are just finding crazy queries, and that crazy query gets stuck and you say, my whole infrastructure has gone down. So you need to have those logs. Yes, it is going to give you can switch them off. You can say, okay, there are 50 things that you do. I don't want to do 50. I want to do only 25. You can switch everything off. And then there is no logging. But do you want to be in that state? No. Right? Again, I will talk about one enterprise thing. For example, audit logs, right? As an enterprise, you want to have an audit. Who logged in? What did they did? What things they changed? When did they change their password? You want to know exactly what is happening with your database, right? So there is that enterprise feature, and those are the extensions that we sell. I mean, I'm sorry to talk about enterprise features, but you need to have those logs. If you don't have those logs, Sarbanes-Oxley Act is going to pick your CEO and put him in jail because he can't say he is guaranteed that I know exactly what is happening with my data. And if he doesn't know what happened with his data, he will be put into jail. Right? After Enron has happened, no CEO wants to risk it. So you want to have that log.
So for the sake of transparency, you mean to say?
Yes, for transparency, for knowing what's happening. People are installing cameras in their houses today. Why do you want to have those? Because you want to know exactly what's happening, who's coming in, who's going out. Right?
Yes.
I hope I've answered you.
Hi. Are there any performance enhancements, 5.7 versus 8?
Yes.
And is there any benchmarks available?
So one of the things that we always we have actually there's a gentleman called there's one gentleman whose job it is to make sure that things are faster. So there are two ways in which things get faster. One is that we find out what are the bottlenecks that are there. So let us suppose if there are two mutexes and they are clashing, can we remove the mutex? Can we serialize it somehow? That is one way. The second thing that we need to make sure things are faster is that today the number of cores inside a machine is increasing. Earlier we used to have a single core machine, then we have 4 core machines. Now we have you can have these slots. There are 10 slots or 12 slots in a machine, and each slot has a CPU. Each CPU has 32 cores. So we are talking about massive parallelization. So if your database is able to take care of that parallelization, you are going to be fast in multiples. If I have got 1 core, I run at 1x speed. If I have 32 cores, I have to run at 32x. Typically, the scaling is not linear. But we are close to like 0.8 or some 0.9 crazy number like that. Because our indexes are parallelized, our slaves are parallelized, our you name it, right? Our queries are absolutely, we are having a lot of things that are multi-threaded. Because in order for us to take advantage of these cores, we have to make sure that everything can be parallelized. You can break it up into things, and you can actually run them in parallel. So backup runs parallel, slaves run parallel, clone is now being run in parallel, indexes are being created in parallel. So there are orders of magnitude that it is faster, right? You will find that you install 8.0, suddenly a query that was running for in 3 seconds, in 30 minutes is running in 3 seconds. But I don't want to guarantee anything. My request to you is, okay, just install it and try it. Run the upgrade checker, see if there's going to be a problem. Give it to one of your, we have so many universities, people just keep crazily asking us for, sir, can I do an internship? Get an intern for 2 months, give him a computer, give him 8.0, give him 5.7, tell him, run the upgrade checker, make my database or at least 5 queries run on 8.0. You find out how fast it runs. I guarantee you it will be 4 or 5 times faster for certain queries and 50 times faster for certain queries. So, don't wait for it. Just, get an intern. There are crazy, people out there, university students out there that can do crazy things. They would love to do this because this looks extremely good on their resume. Capture them, make them do this test and find out for yourself. Don't make me answer it because I'm the Oracle guy. I'll never say it's shit. I'm going to say it's wonderful, right? But you need to find out. I remember there's a large card swiping company, right? I can't take the name. And they would not believe anything that we said about 8.0. So I actually had to fly my security experts down to Japan because that's where their lab is. They sat in their lab, they made things run, and their mind was blown. We got a $4 million after that, right? So don't believe me. I mean, I'm here just for evangelization. Just put it down, and MySQL it gets installed in minutes. We are not talking about those, crazy large databases where a DBA has to sit for hours and configure this and configure that. These things come out of the box. I have the moment you install your cluster, it gets installed. You can create 3 clusters while installation in 15 minutes. I have a 15-minute video which I have given to people, right? And that is the guy is talking about it, and meanwhile the cluster is installing. It installs in 5 to 7 minutes. You can have a 3-node cluster up in 5 minutes, and I can send you a pointer to that video where that is there. In the install, you can say I want 3 nodes, and it's going to get configured. Nothing crazy. There's nothing difficult in it, and that's the whole beauty of MySQL. We just run out of the box, and we just work. It just works.